Do y'all ever miss Ryan Ross? Jennifer's Body was a cultural reset, and the reason for, I think, maybe 80% of bi awakenings, the book is good. Trust me, the book is good. Trust me, I'm a doctor. Hello everyone, and welcome to another bookish video. Today we are getting into my very first fall recommendation video. I'm so excited. Every single year I do at least 2 or 3 fall book recommendation videos. This is going to be my first one. It's basically all the things that I've read since last fall that gave me fall vibes that I kind of like bookmarked in my head as recommend this in fall 2024. And now here we are in fall 2024. Wow, that's crazy. So let's go ahead and get into it. But before we do, I do want to thank the sponsor of today's video, which is June's Journey. If there's 2 things that I love, it is thrillers and cozy gaming, and June's Journey basically married 2 of my favorite things in one mobile game. June's Journey is an app where you're basically solving a murder mystery. You play as this character June, and you can go through and solve not only the mystery of who murdered her sister, but also a bunch of other various family secrets. You're finding hidden objects, unraveling chapter by chapter, and it is so much fun. I love that there's a plot that keeps me engaged, but there's also like really fun, cozy elements of the game, and y'all know I love my little games like that. If you want to take a break from the plot, you can always customize your mansion and your little like island garden. You can totally make it your own. It's just engaging enough while still being so relaxing. I love some of the little tasks where you have to like clean up a room. It just feels so satisfying, and it's like, okay, I'm cleaning my room, I'm gonna customize my room, and then also I'm gonna solve a murder. Like every girl's ideal day. And the best part about June's Journey is that it is completely free to download. It's available for Android and iOS devices, as well as on PC through Facebook Games. So if you want to give it a try, go ahead and download with my QR code right here, or visit the link in the description and start playing June's Journey today. Thank you so much to June's Journey for sponsoring this video, and now let's get into all the fall books. I have 12 books total to share with you today. Some thrillers, some horror, a couple YA, I think, a couple you can get on KU, really good variety. Let's go. I'll start off with a recent read. I just read this one this past summer, and the entire time I was kicking myself wishing that I would have read this book during Halloween time because the vibes were immaculate. It is called The Thicket by Noelle W. Ely. It's available on Kindle Unlimited, and I have an entire video actually about Noelle West Ely's entire backlist. I rate them all, I rank them all, I give you the tea on every single one of her thrillers. If you want to watch that one, I will link it up above and down below for you. But The Thicket is her debut novel, so it's not as finely tuned as her more recent releases, but I still did enjoy it. My favorite thing about it is that this thriller is set at a haunted house, and I am the type of person that every single year I have like comfort things that I want to watch around certain seasons, and one of the things that I want to watch every single fall is the Travel Channel show called Haunts, and they go to like all these crazy haunted houses all across the country. This thriller gave me those vibes because we are investigating all of these murders and disappearances that are happening around this haunted house. It's very tropey, like it plays on horror tropes, but it's definitely more of a murder mystery thriller. So if you want horror vibes in a book without the actual horror, because this is very much a straightforward like whodunit murder mystery type of thriller, you will really like this one. It definitely has like the group of dumb teens getting themselves into trouble. It has like the stuff from the past that's showing back up, the disgruntled kind of slasher doing the slashing, and we're trying to figure out what their motivation is and who the hell they are. It's just such a fun Halloween time. It's easy to read, it's accessible on KU. This is like my poster child for fall 2024 reading. And if you want a little bit more than just horror vibes, if you want horror, then I have to recommend We Used to Live Here by Marcus Cleaver, I don't fucking know, but here it is. I just recently read this book in my new release thriller vlog. I don't know if it's actually necessarily a thriller. It's kind of like half thriller, half horror. I don't know. I think most books can't be defined by genre, to be totally real. But this book is so good. It's definitely one of my favorites of the year. If you haven't heard me rant about it yet and try to convince you to read it, please let me proceed. The pitch is we're following a cutie little sapphic couple. They just moved into this old house and their house flippers, so they're gonna go ahead and like renovate it and redo it. But one day, a family shows up on their porch and the patriarch of the family is like, hey, like I actually used to live here before like anything happens to it. Can I like take my kids through and show them where I grew up? And the girlie who answers the door is like, I'm such a people pleaser and I really wish my partner was here to handle this, but she's not, so I'm gonna have to say, yeah, sure, make it quick. And she lets these people in and they will not leave. And from there, this book, the best way I can describe it is a culmination of nightmares, okay? Every scary rabbit hole you've gone down at 2 a.m. on Reddit, this book goes into. It feels like that feeling of deep diving into the Mandela effect or McCamey Manor or fucking I was gonna say crop dusting. That's not what I mean. You know when the aliens do the crop circles? There we go. It feels like going down a rabbit hole like that, but it's a fictional book. I think capturing that feeling is so masterful. Obviously, it's perfect for fall. This is my ideal haunted house book because it's not the boring haunted house formula. It does something totally new and I loved it. Also featured in that vlog was Do What Godmother Says by L.S. Stratton. This is a gothic thriller. If you like more like, I hesitate to say dark academia because I feel like that's a term that people just put on anything these days, but it is kind of giving dark academia because it's like art dealers in New York City who are very educated and rich. Like if you like that kind of gothic feel to your thrillers for your fall time energy, you're going to love this book. We're following two timelines, a present day timeline and a timeline in the past. In 1920s Harlem, New York City, so iconic. In present day, we're following our main character, Shanice. Yeah. See, you know a book is good if I remember character names. Shanice was just handed down a painting that's been in her family for almost 100 years. And she's quickly finding out that there's some lore behind this painting and there's some stuff going on with it because people around her start acting a little suspicious, getting hurt, etc. now that it's come into her possession. In our past timeline, we are following Essie, who was the painter of the painting that Shanice now has, and we see everything that she went through when she was making this painting that created all of the mystery and lore around it and eventually led to someone's murder. We want to solve that murder, solve the mystery of the painting, and generally just find out more about these two characters. They're both so enthralling. They are perfect foils of each other. It is so well written. I can't speak enough about how well L.S. Stratton's writing just flows and you feel it. It's so atmospheric. The imagery is so strong. If you want a well-written thriller, read this book. Next up, let's get into some YA and something real Halloween-y. Like, this is the most Halloween-y book I think I've maybe ever read, and that is The Haunting by Natasha Preston. Okay, Natasha's coming in hot. Usually I hate her books, okay? I am no stranger to giving a Natasha Preston book 1 star. She always ends up on my worst books of the year. However, this release actually kind of slayed. It's a YA thriller and we're following a girl who broke up with her boyfriend for literally the most out-of-pocket reason on earth, his dad was revealed as the local serial killer. And he went to jail and she was like, I just can't be associated. And so she broke this man's heart. This man found out his dad was a killer and then got dumped. Like, and now, a year later, there's another serial killer in this little town who's kind of copycatting her ex's dad. So she's like, did the police actually catch him? Like, was it actually him? Is it her ex going crazy and following in his dad's footsteps? Or is it someone totally and completely unrelated? So we are trying to solve the mystery as people keep turning up dead. It's really straightforward, but what I really enjoyed about this was the fall vibes. I swear the characters in this book do every fall activity you could ever possibly imagine. I felt like I was physically feeling a crisp breeze and smelling pumpkin pie as I was reading this book. That's how strong the fall atmosphere was. It takes place on Halloween. In this book, there's some fun murdery moments on All Hallows Eve. Get this, Natasha does not leave us on a weird cliffhanger. We've been asking for years and years, please Natasha, stop leaving us on a cliffhanger. And she did it. She listened. Thank you, Natasha. If you are a short story lover during the fall time, because I know I definitely am, it just feels so nostalgic, almost like you're a little kid reading the like scary stories to tell in the dark, which I always did with my friends around the fall time when I was growing up, then you will love these next couple. I recently read Dead Leaves by Keelan Patrick Burke, and I absolutely love this collection. There are 9 stories in here that take place on and around Halloween, and again, they're just so vibey. It's all the fall atmosphere, leaves, pumpkins, witches, ghosts, and these stories feel really nostalgic. Plus, I was telling my patrons this when I filmed a video on this book over on my Patreon. I think there's a section at the back of this book that makes the price of the book fully worth it, even if you do not read the stories. And that is because there's this master list of recommended books. When I tell you, so many pages and pages of Halloween fall time book recommendations. And he has the same thing for movies. Pages and pages and pages. Like, you would never be able to work your way through this list. I really want to go through and like mark my ratings next to every single one that I've watched or read and highlight the ones that I want to read or like put on my TBR or TV watched. TV watched. Okay, we'll go with it. I think that alone is worth it, and it just gets you in the fall mood. There are these little bites of scary stories, and I gave this one overall 4 stars. That was the average rating of all of my ratings of every individual story, so they're all really great. Another short story collection which is perfect for fall is The Trick-or-Treater and Other Stories by Brianna Morgan. This is kind of the same vibes. It's a lot more like conceptual, like you feel like you know where the story is going. The opening story of this one especially feels almost like a fable, like something that you've heard before, but a new Halloween-y kind of take on it. Again, there are stories in here that do take place on the actual day of Halloween, and it also has all the fall vibes. This one, of all the stories, my average rating was a 3.5 out of 5 stars, but there were less stories in here, so you know, they were weighted more heavily. Overall, I love this one and the last one if you're looking for some fall short stories. They're just so quick, so easy, get you in the mood, get you in the vibes. Love it. Jumping back into thrillers, we have Look Closer by David Ellis. This was a great thriller that I read last year. If you like drama, but you want to pair the rich people drama with the fall vibes without getting too horror-y up in here, I would highly recommend Look Closer. We're following basically all of these shitty people. Like, all of these are really toxic, horrible rich people. And we know that one woman has ended up dead. And we are just looking into every single person it could possibly be. All of these overlapping relationships, drama in the rich people neighborhood, cheating on each other, mistresses, embezzlement. Like, there is every piece of juicy drama in the world. included in this book. And the way that the book is written, like, it looks pretty chunky and it is pretty long, but it reads so fast. Almost everyone I know who's read this book has read it in less than a day, because the way that it's written, it just keeps sucking you in chapter after chapter. There's these little breadcrumbs of twists and like drama reveals that just make you want to read and read and read and read and know what happens. Now, I do think the twists at the end are crazy and a lot of people really like them. I found a couple plot holes that were just a little glaring and kind of stand out to me. I haven't heard anyone else be annoyed by that or talk about that though, so that could totally be just a me thing. However, if you go into this and you get annoyed by that, don't blame me, because I see it too. And this one also takes place on Halloween. There's stuff about like Halloween costumes. The murder that happens takes place on Halloween, and the murderer is dressed up as the Grim Reaper. We're like jumping around in time around the time of the murder, so it's like you get all of the intro to fall vibes every single day, like leading up to Halloween. It's great. If you want something a little cozier, then I highly recommend Cackle by Rachel Harrison. Honestly, I recommend all of Rachel Harrison's books. I need to do an author rating and ranking video on all her books so I can tell you guys all the tea about all of them, because I love them all so much. This one is definitely my favorite for autumn, because similar to a lot of other books on this list, it just has that energy that I love to feel during fall, especially because I live in Texas. I don't live in a place where I get like real fall feelings. Getting them from a book is the best I can get, really. And this book follows a girl who starts over her life, moves to a new town where she knows no one. She just ended her long-term relationship and she's like, where do I go from here? She ends up meeting someone in this new town and she's like, oh my God, like I'm proud of myself. I made a friend. Little does she know, she might have just made friends with the town witch. So you see, as she gets into the fold with this person that the rest of the town has kind of alienated, and you see her start experimenting with some witchy stuff. And more than that, it's just this beautiful emotional journey of our main character coming into her own and getting to know herself in this really spooky setting. If you want fall vibes, but you don't want anything scary, anything close to horror, highly, highly recommend this. All of the thrills and horror in this book is really just based around like real human experience and less around like big jump scares or monsters or things like that. This is one of my all-time favorite books to recommend in this time of year. So if it sounds at all good to you, please, please, please pick it up. The audio for this one is also really, really good, really vibey. I love it. We'll stay on like the lighter vibes. If that one sounds good for you and you want more recs that are like more cozy, light-hearted, and good for fall, I would recommend Hex Education by Maureen Kilmer. Honestly, all of Maureen Kilmer books like kind of fit the bill for this recommendation prompt. This is about a group of suburban mothers, and in their past in college, they were in like a little coven and they would do their little hexes and use their little witchcraft, and it led to something really tragic in the past. And now that tragedy is coming back up years and years later, and they have to reckon with the fact that they might be exposed for the witches that they are. It's like modern day Salem with rich suburban moms. It's so funny and also so heartwarming, but there are also really big moments of like thrills in here, especially the end. It like pops off. There's these huge pivotal scenes that feel like big and cinematic, but I definitely wouldn't call this one scary. It's definitely lighthearted, cozy horror. If I would even call it horror, I think it's more like a rich people drama thriller with some added witchy paranormal elements to it. If you like something like a Sherry Lapina book, but you want something more fall coded, this is your go-to. But if you do want something a little bit creepier, a little more horror, I have to recommend The Devil Crept In by Anya Alborn. Anya Alborn is one of my favorite horror authors. I just think her writing style is absolutely incredible. It sucks you in from page one, and that atmosphere does not let you go. In this book, we're actually following from the perspective of a little boy, which I love following the perspective of a creepy little child. I just feel like it takes the horror to another level, getting it from a kid's POV. And his cousin and best friend has gone missing. This is not the first disappearance of a little boy that has taken place in this town, because every year or so, a little child goes missing. And no one seems to know what it's about or care to investigate it. So our little guy goes on this journey to figure out what has happened to his friend. And much is discovered about the woods surrounding the town. It kind of pops off from there. It has this feel of like It or Stranger Things, because we're following from this young perspective, getting into something way too dark that they don't realize until it's the horrors upon them. It's really atmospheric, perfect for fall, like chilly breeze through the woods, and the twigs are like cracking behind you and making you jump. That is the feeling of reading this book. I can't remember if it was last fall or the fall before. I spent a whole day just in my library reading this book, and I had the window open because it was like a rare cool day, and it was the perfect vibe. Getting into my last couple recs here, back in the more like gothic space, if you like gothic stuff during the fall, I gotta recommend The Only One Left by Riley Sager. Would it even be a fall rec video without a Riley Sager book? I don't know. This one is perfect for this time of year, and the twists in this book are crazy. A lot of time I have this like preconceived notion that a gothic thriller is going to be slow and boring for some reason, so I don't read a lot of them, but this is one that totally defies that, and it's definitely not what I thought it was going to be. We are following these two very unlikable, morally gray women. One woman is this old lady who is accused of murdering her entire family, but she got off scot-free, and we're following the perspective of her home aide like nurse, and she recently got moved to this position taking care of this suspected murderer because she can relate to her. She was accused of the death of her mother and her most recent patient. So do we have two female killers on our hands? You'll have to find out while reading what exactly is going on here. It's so suspenseful. The gothic vibes are so strong. It reads really quickly, even though the atmosphere feels like so dense and dark and mysterious. It has the pacing of a thriller and the feel of gothic horror. And the twists at the end, like I said, they're crazy. I literally had to reread them multiple times because they gave me whiplash. I had to go back and think like, is this actually going on what I think they're trying to say? Holy shit. It was such a good read. Honestly, Riley Sager never fails for me. I love it. And the last recommendation that I have for you in this video is a kidnapping thriller, The Quiet Tenant by Clement McCallan. This one I read with my book club last fall, and it was so good. The majority of us really loved it. We're following this guy who literally is a kidnapper and serial killer, okay? He takes women, he holds them in his freaking shed, and then he murders them. Like, that is what this man does. And his wife dies. So now him and his teenage daughter are moving house. Okay, they're downsizing. Obviously the daughter's like grieving, and he's like, shit, we gotta move, and I got a bitch in the shed. Like, so we are following all the perspectives of the women in this man's life as he scrambles and tries to move house with his kidnapped victim. It's kind of like Notes on an Execution, because there's a lot of commentary about like the women in this man's life, the perspective that they have on him, including his captive, but it's much more exciting, much more thrillery, much more fast-paced and twisty than Notes on an Execution. Notes on an Execution feels like the literary version, and this is the thriller version of very similar stories. So if you like that book, but you wish that it was faster, which is exactly how I felt about it, I think you will love The Quiet Tenant. Also, this book is just like the drama, the tea. Like, there's so much going on, in particular with like one perspective that I was like, I could not stop laughing. In my reading vlog, I read this on Patreon. I was like dying laughing in multiple clips because Oh my god, this book is just, it's meaningful and it's exciting, but it's also like kind of silly goofy at times, and I love a thriller like that. And with that, those are going to be all of my fall book recommendations for now. I have a couple more rec videos coming this fall, so stay tuned, subscribe for that, and of course, like this video if you liked it. And don't forget to go down below and check out June's journey. I'll put that QR code back on the screen here, but you can also download at my link down below. Thank you guys again so much for watching. Don't forget to go to therapy and read a book this week, and I will see you guys in my next video.